Well, the city of Toronto is celebrating its 19th birthday this new year, and that sounds relatively young, but that's because January 1st, 1998, 6 different municipalities came together to form the megacity of Toronto. Now, 2 decades later, we're taking a look back to see whether that decision was a success.
There were certainly good points about the amalgamation. I mean, it did make Toronto a major center. We're the 4th largest center in North America, and from a trading commerce standpoint, that's a very good thing. I think it gives us stature throughout the world that we really didn't have independently before.
Doug Holliday, the former mayor of Etobicoke, was one of the few on board with joining forces with 5 other cities in 1998 to form the megacity of Toronto.
We did have 6 fire departments, and we had 7 recreation departments, including Metro, and 7 clerks departments and so on, and that if we could amalgamate this into one, that perhaps there was room for saving.
But many of his peers at the time weren't convinced it would be in their residents' best interest to merge York, North York, East York, Etobicoke and Scarborough with Toronto.
We had very, very little debt. It wasn't worth North York's while to fund all the other municipalities who were almost bankrupt.
Still, that wouldn't stop the former mayor of North York from becoming Megacity's first mayor after the provincial Conservatives under Mike Harris made the decision to unite the municipalities. Lastman vowed to keep taxes from rising in the first 3 years, but it soon became difficult to keep costs down.
It probably would have worked if there hadn't been downloading. If the province weren't downloading all their costs, most expensive costs on us. The TTC, the housing, it came to over about $575 million that we didn't have.
Those weren't the only challenges facing a cash-strapped megacity. Critics say the promise to decrease staff and in turn costs never did materialize.
What happened was that the unions and the management of the city, they cherry-picked. All the best and most expensive programs of all the municipalities were brought into the new city, whereas we should have taken a look at what was the most effective and cost-efficient and done things better.
The challenge, though, is that with a larger government comes increased service demands. So the city actually ended up adding staff, and costs for many services actually increased.
John Sewell, the former mayor of Toronto before amalgamation and the head of a group opposed to the megacity, says he would support a conversation to return the cities to their previous status.
I would be delighted if members of council said, hey, let's get together and talk about how we could create a government that in fact is more responsive to the individual citizen. But
others say it's too late to look back, and nearly 2 decades later, the focus should be on moving Toronto forward.
It's a success in some ways, but it certainly is a failure in other ways. I'd certainly like to see our transportation expanded, and we know that we need this, and we know that we've got to improve our roads too.
Now, the decision to de-amalgamate would lie with the province ultimately. And interestingly enough, Premier Kathleen Wynne was actually one of the people heading that group against the megacity back in the 1990s.